It's the general critical consensus, and it happens to be my opinion too, that Andor is the best of the new Star Wars series. It follows a group of compelling new characters in new locations with a new, fresh story set in the universe we already know. And by doing often what isn't expected with its characters and its story, it allows itself to build tension that I've not felt with Star Wars in a very long time, with an excellent heist sequence and probably the best prison arc that I've seen in media in over a decade, all whilst delivering a tangible message about fascism, resistance, and keeping true to one's own values that actually reflects into our real world. There's a major problem though. Andor was also the least watched of all the new Star Wars series, falling behind The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, and even the critically panned Boba Fett. And the message that Disney could take away from this is clear. It doesn't matter what quality of TV show they produce. What their fans want to see is the big names. They want to see the cameo appearances. They want to see a return to the characters they loved. Predictable rehashes of stories that have already happened and characters we already know the stories of, with consistent deep dive references to now very old films and TV shows that barely anyone has watched. And if Disney was just paying attention to the viewer numbers, then that is the natural course of action. Just churn out more of the same. The fans have spoken. They want the same characters again. They want you to fill in the gaps of stories they already know. They don't want The Last Jedi. They want Rise of Skywalker. But there is a bigger warning why Disney shouldn't do this than just the fate of Rise of Skywalker, and it comes from another one of their properties. Because Disney did learn this lesson already. They learned that people like being played the hits. They learned they like the same characters again, the same stories again, filling in the gaps, referencing your own movies and TV shows again and again. And what they ended up with was the last 5 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and its increasing stagnation. Because despite small flashes of creativity like Loki, that TV show still relied on drawing people in with their love of an old character. And increasingly you get films like The Marvels, which I don't think was a bad film, but it was a film that required its audience to do homework. To fully appreciate all the characters in The Marvels, you really should have seen Captain Marvel, and Ms. Marvel, and the Scarlet Witch TV show. And to understand Ms. Marvel and the Scarlet Witch TV show, you really need to have seen Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. And the only way to really appreciate Endgame and Infinity War is by watching the first 3 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You're looking at 20-odd films and now a half dozen TV shows just to go to the cinema and enjoy something that should just be a chance to have good fun, which the Marvels, shed of all its baggage, could well have been. But people are bored. If the Marvels had come out 10, 15 years ago, it would have been a mid to mid-low tier entry Marvel film. Probably fairly insignificant, would have raked in the cash. But coming at the end of this period of stagnation, where anytime we do get a new character, it's in an uninspired film, which is just a rehash of the superhero origin stories we already know. And everything else is a sequel that seems to rely more on getting people to notice the Easter eggs than on actually delivering character arcs. The Marvel audience and fan base has gotten bored and is beginning to stop turning up. And that's the fate that might lie ahead for Star Wars. Because people are turning up in bigger numbers for the TV shows that take you back to the characters they loved. But those aren't the best TV shows, and even the fans know it. They're turning up to watch. The online SEO articles are being churned out. The YouTube clips are getting played over and over again, telling you all the ways that the latest episode referenced all the different films and TV shows of the past. And this constant mill of the same and the same again is boring. We know Disney has the capacity to do more interesting things with Star Wars. Andor is evidence of that. But it's noticeable that the person who's been given the reins over Star Wars going forwards isn't the creator of Andor and the also excellent Rogue One, Tony Gilroy. It's Dave Filoni, who made Ahsoka. Ahsoka that, despite moments of brilliance, relied so heavily on referencing stuff Dave Filoni had made in the past that, again, it required homework for people to enjoy properly. I ended up giving my wife YouTube summaries of parts of the Clone Wars so that she'd understand what was going on watching Ahsoka. To have any idea of the characters and their arcs leading up to the TV series, because the TV series itself didn't deliver that character development and arcs. Andor reignited my love in the Star Wars universe following Rise of Skywalker, but it wasn't alone. Jedi Fallen Order also brought me back to the franchise. Another property that stepped away from the Skywalker saga and looked in depth into how other people were impacted by the decisions and actions of the people from the main series. Yes, it returns to planets and people that we've seen in the TV shows and films. Yes, there's cameo appearances by some of the film characters, but at no point does the game story rely on those references. It gives you the world and character development in the game itself. You could erase the film and TV shows from existence, and the story and character arcs in Jedi Fallen Order would be compelling anyway. You would still learn a lot about the planets. You would learn about how the Empire works and the fear that Darth Vader strikes into people in the Empire. And you would keep playing, as so many did, just to find out where Cal Kestis goes and what happens to his companions. I can't say I do the same with Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, or the Boba Fett TV shows, which just take me back to stories I already know the endings of. I can't say I do that for most of the MCU films and TV shows coming out, which just feel like I need to keep up with them if I'm going to be able to understand what happens next. Because they rely so heavily on referencing themselves at the expense of delivering compelling stories and character arcs on their own. Disney could look entirely in the short term. They could just look at what TV shows get the most articles and YouTube videos made about them online, get the highest view counts. And I think that would be a mistake. Because I think in that direction lies stagnation and a world that ends up feeling boring. And I think maybe the most depressing thing that could possibly happen to the Star Wars universe is that people are bored by it.